Hello, my name is Josh Thrift. I am SCPC's Vice President of Campus Relations and Recruitment.
I'm Carly Bloomingdale. I am the Associate Director for Student Center Programs.
And we're here to give you a little presentation on virtual programming and what that looks like. If you have already seen our presentation of marketing, hopefully you already have. We were also there, and that provides a little bit more context as to who we are, what we do within the Student Center and within SCPC. But basically, if you've gone to GT9 Six Flags, GT9 at the Aquarium, the Homecoming Concert, Sting Break, any of those events, that's a lot of what we do on campus and what we work to put on. But the reason why, or a big reason why we're explaining this presentation on virtual programming is because back in March, hopefully you heard about, or March and April, towards the end of last semester when um, remote classes were taking place and everyone went back home, or most everyone did, we put on a lot of virtual programs for campus because there was still a need for programming, and unfortunately we couldn't do those in person. So to satisfy that same need and to achieve the same sense of community, or to the best of our ability, we put on a lot of virtual programs. So hopefully you've seen a little bit about that beforehand.
So first we want to address why virtual programs. Um, Sometimes the answer to that is why programs. So I think if you take a look back at why we're doing programs in general, really similar to virtual. So we're trying to build community. We want people to feel like they have other people here, they have that sense of connectedness, both to individuals, but also to Georgia Tech. So that's a little bit about like why just in general programs, but why virtual, we need alternatives to that traditional programming that still allows us to have programs, still allows us to create that community, but does it in a safer way. This clearly helps reduce the risk of spreading COVID-19, as well as other, things that can be out there as well. But it makes your residents feel safer while they're still engaging with others. You're going to have some folks that just don't feel comfortable going to in-person events, but still want to connect with others. So that community that you're going to build, it's going to look different than it did last year. If you're a returning RA, you did it one way last year, you got to do it a different way this year. Your online community is going to be just as important as your in-person community, because a lot of folks might look to build that online community. And so hopefully you're there and you're helping build your online community as well.
All right, so here are some options. What's available to you in terms of virtual programs? You may not have experience putting on virtual programs beforehand, but that's okay because there are plenty of options and more are coming about as we speak, as virtual programming becomes a bit of the new normal and more programming boards are using them. There are more ideas and options available as people are coming up with new ways to program virtually. So just some options that we're familiar with and maybe we even put on ourselves is you can do trivia. That's a really great, easy way to do a remote program. Typically we did it through Kahoot, but I'm sure there are other ways to um, put on trivia for your residents. There are also lots of online board games. We'll have another slide that kind of goes into what we know about what is available for online board games, but there are almost limitless options there because there are just so many things that you can find simply by Googling an online board game. Do-it-yourself activities. So this may be that you kind of provide the specific materials for whatever activity you're putting on for your residents, or maybe it's stuff that's already available to them in their dorms. And this can kind of look like origami or making your own decorations for your dorms, whatever it may be that you can do it yourself, and you can all kind of do it together at the same time and discuss throughout the process and discuss the results once you're done with everything and kind of do a little show and tell. There's also Jackbox games. That does come at the price in order to get an account for that. If someone already has it available, that's great too. but they're a lot of fun. There's a lot of different options with Jackbox games. But from what I've seen, everyone seems to really enjoy them, and it's a great time doing that. You can also do Netflix Party. This is, of course, limited to people who already do have a Netflix subscription, but it is a great way to interact with everyone while watching a movie together and not actually being in the same room with everyone, because there's a little chat feature kind of to the right where you can discuss the movie as it plays and still watch it at the same time. So it's just like watching a movie together with everyone. I've used it a lot with people far away from where I live during the spring. It's a great time. And then also something that you can do is find online non-academic courses for students to engage in. That can look like yoga, that can look like webinars. There are lots of different speakers about lots of different topics that are available. It just may take a little bit more research as to where it's available and like what topic specifically you want spoken on. But there's a ton of things going about in that area. There's also House Party games. So House Party is an app that you can download on your phone. That's also a great time, and you can have a lot of people on at once, and it's basically like you're all chatting together. And within House Party, they do have a few games available, such as a variety or a version of Apples to Apples. There's trivia. There's a Pictionary type game. All of them are a lot of fun. There's also gaming tournaments available. It may be that you all log in kind of to the same tournament on your own, but also vendors kind of provide the same thing. If you want to do it on a much larger scale, vendors can kind of put that on for you. There is a cost associated with that, but that is an option if you want to have like a really, really large gaming tournament. You could even do just a dinner party. Everyone brings their own little to-go dinner in their room, and you log on a Blue Jeans call together or House Party or however way you want to communicate with one another, and you can just chat while you're eating dinner. There's also virtual escape rooms available. There's a few options kind of in that area, and it, like I said before, it may take like a Google search to figure out what all is available. What we've seen is there's even like a Harry Potter virtual escape room available, completely free. Whether or not it is free kind of depends on specifically the escape room that you're interested in. If one isn't free, it's typically not too costly, but there should be enough free options out there that you can explore them and still have a fun time in the escape room. We'll go into this a little bit more later, but vendors can also help with your events as well. Typically, vendors are used to doing in-person activities, but they understand the need now for virtual programming, and they're adjusting accordingly and providing a lot of options there so they can help you put on your virtual events and make them successful.
Josh mentioned online board games, that is readily available. And these, I believe, are all free. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, that is correct.
They're all free. So definitely utilize these. Many of them you can chat with folks in it, or you can set up a Blue Jeans call and have this, or a WebEx or whatever format you want to use. But we have a couple different Pictionary ones. SCPC has used these as like team builders or icebreakers too. So even if you're looking to do something with your staff before a staff meeting, that sort of thing, you can utilize these. But a couple Pictionaries, there's Settlers of Catan, there's different card games, chess, checkers, all of that. You see like euchre is being played in the picture. And then if you've ever played the board game Codenames, horsepaste.com, which is just a wonderful website name, URL. You can go there and you actually create a game, and you can send the link to that specific game to other people. And then if you wanted to get on a call and give clues to people, that can work there. Lots of options.
All right, so just to kind of discuss like why virtual programs are beneficial and some of them the upsides to playing virtual events. There's less travel. You don't have to get up and go anywhere. Even if the event previously would just take place in a study hall area or a lounge, even that may be too much for some people. So really, all you have to do is go from your bed to your desk. And even if that's too much, even if that's too much travel, you can be extra efficient and just log on in your bed with your laptop in your lap. So very little travel there. That is helpful because, sometimes people just don't want to get out of bed. Less costly. A lot of these virtual programs are free, as I mentioned before, with the board games and gaming and house party calls. There are lots of options that come at completely no cost, and they can be just as fun. Another really great benefit, and the main reason why virtual programming it has come about in these past months, are the prevent of spread of disease. And that's very important. Not everyone may be comfortable anymore with attending an in-person event, or may choose not to just because they want to reduce the risk of them uh, contracting any sort of disease. So that's extremely helpful, and it's the reason why we still want to provide a means for those students who may not be very comfortable attending in-person events to have a way to build community and to make friends on their floors or within their residence halls, and so that they can still have a great tech experience without putting any risk to their health and safety. Another benefit is that it sometimes can be easier to set up. Technical difficulties can sometimes come about, and we'll go into this a little more later, but it's very important to have a lot of trial and error period to make sure you've kind of worked out all the kinks. They are pretty new. You may not entirely know how to run a virtual program just yet because they haven't been used very commonly until now. So for the most part, once you get the hang of it, they're easier to set up though, and virtually no cleanup at all. So there's none of that. You don't really have to throw anything away. Don't have to really sanitize after the fact, because all you really have to do is close whatever is up on your browser, and that's it. Cleanup done. There's also convenience in scheduling. You don't really have to spend a lot of time trying to schedule this or reserve a specific space in order to make this event happen. It can be a pop-up event if you want it to be that case. It may be like less people know about it, and that kind of goes into our marketing presentation a little bit. You do want to inform people of your events well beforehand. But if you ever do want to have a pop-up event and just talk with people on your hall, or everyone's kind of seems to be free at the same time and they're interested in doing something fun, then you can just do it. There's really no scheduling, or sometimes you don't have to plan too far ahead if you kind of already know what you're doing with a virtual program, or if it's at a smaller scale.
I thought of another benefit. Another benefit is whenever we go home for Thanksgiving, and we're home for a while now because the institute's going to go to a blended format, which is online after Thanksgiving. You can still connect with people with virtual events. I think sometimes we find that like winter break can be really long because you're at home for a while, or you're wherever you're going for a while. And so you can still have some fun with folks on campus while not being on campus, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's talk challenges. First off, I love that meme because it's so true. But yeah, so some challenges. Students may be slightly intimidated by the thought of trivia night online, and how do I talk to people online, and all of that. There just might be a lot there. I know when we were doing our gaming tournaments, we used Discord. I'd never used Discord. I signed up for a Discord to just check out our gaming tournament. And that to me was like a whole world that I was very intimidated by because I'm not necessarily familiar with it. So that can be a barrier of entry for students. I think just talking with them and letting them know what to expect, show them, give them a little like sneak peek of what the event's going to look like if you can, and then they can overcome that challenge. As I said, it requires more interaction with strangers. If you haven't been to an in-person event with these people and you're just doing virtual events, there's a little awkwardness of like, how do I connect with somebody? Maybe you're typing. Maybe you have like a WebEx or a BlueJeans call. but it can be difficult to have your first interaction with a person that way. So you need to be intentional about giving everyone a chance to talk. That is something that we learned in some of our virtual events in April. That if you want people to be invested in the event or engaged in the event, they need to have the opportunity to talk. So I think we've always seen the conference call bingo or the different videos about how awkward a conference call can be, but there's a lot of that lag time between me getting done talking and then maybe when Josh jumps in to talk, or maybe there's not enough lag time and Josh jumps in to talk and we oh no you go first so there's just some awkwardness when using technology, especially when like trying to build conversations around it too.
Yeah, so back into marketing. If you've already seen the marketing presentation, well, there's a little bit more that kind of comes with virtual programs. First of all, students may not really know how to join. If they've never attended a virtual event before, or they're just not familiar with whatever website you're using, or not familiar with that app, they may not understand how to even attend the event. So it's very important that you make it clear as to how they need to join this event or what steps they need to take in the first place. If they need to download an app, if they need to make an account, if they um, basically anything they need to do in order to make it easier for them to attend the event. They just simply may not want to put in the effort to figure it out. If they spend half the event trying to figure out how to join it, then it's unsuccessful, and they may have better things to do than just figuring out how to attend a virtual event, and that takes away a lot from the experience. And they may have felt like it was a waste of time because of that, and they could have been working on homework or doing something else. So you want to make it as easy as possible for them to attend, and that is really the key there for higher attendance if they don't have that barrier to entry. Kind of what I mentioned before, if there are any instructions for how to attend or links that they need to be able to attend, make sure you give them that in advance. Maybe not when the event's already started, but give it to them like half an hour before. Like, hey, this is the event doesn't start until 5 o'clock. It's 4:30 right now, but here's the link that you'll need to attend it so that everyone can attend right on time, and you have more time together enjoying the event rather than spending a lot of time just trying to join. Like I said before, if they need to make an account, have them make it in advance. Be like, this is what you need. The event's not until tomorrow. Just make an account if you have the time. It's okay if you don't, but like kind of what I already mentioned, if you're not making an account during the event, you have more time together having fun. It's also very important to advertise how long the event will last. So if a person wants to maybe not join as soon as the event starts because they have class or something else is going on and they want to join at 7:30 instead of the event starting at 7, well, make sure they know how long the event's going to last and how long people are going to be tuning into the event. That way they know they can join a little bit late and still enjoy it and hang out with everybody.
So some things to consider about your virtual event. Always ask yourself a few questions when you're planning. What is the draw to the event? So it used to be there's gonna be free food. That's not gonna necessarily be a thing. So you have to figure out what the draw is. Hopefully it's the activity. Hopefully it's the people. And hopefully they have a great relationship with you, and you are a big draw to the event too. How easy is it going to be for your residents to join? As Josh mentioned, make sure that if they need links to things, they have them well in advance. If they have to make an account. I mentioned Discord. That was Steam, I think, is one that we use too. Like if you need accounts to things, set them up already. Encourage your residents, show them how. Get them comfortable in that world, and then they'll be able to easily join your event. And then how will residents be communicating with one another? Be pretty upfront about this. So sometimes we are doing Blue Jeans calls. for events, and we can say, there is a chat function. So if you want to chat with others, if we have to hear something in like a trivia game, we need to be able to hear. So if folks can chat in the chat function, it's important for you to kind of take control of that event and announce that. And then, as some side chatter might start to happen, or, some table talk if you're playing some games, make sure that if folks need to hear what's going on the screen, that they can. And then can someone still join if they arrive late? Like Josh said, it's really important for people to know, like, if you join late, you are maybe a spectator and you're not actively playing the game, which is still fun and still a great time, but it's important for them to know that. Kind of with that, if they got there right at the beginning, and then the time, they need to know the time that it lasts, because maybe they thought it's just going to be a quick 15 minutes and it's a tournament and now it's 2 hours of their time. All of that can be really helpful for people to know, but for you to have in mind, like what's going to work the best for your residents.
Yeah, and now we're just gonna kind of go into like what we learned going through virtual programs in April, and kind of the learning curve that we went through with that, because it's something we had never done before. A big thing is that you cannot test it enough beforehand. This is very new for both you putting on the event and the residents attending the event. They haven't really done this before. You maybe haven't done this before. So it's good to test it out with someone, maybe test it out with a fellow RA, just to make sure you have all the kinks worked out, and so that when the event time does come around, everything runs smoothly and there aren't too many questions and there isn't too much confusion. And that way, it doesn't take away from the event experience at all. People can they're not worrying about how to just make the event happen, but their only concern is having fun with fellow residents and getting to know each other. And the pictures kind of displayed here are examples of us testing out the virtual midnight breakfast that we had last spring, kind of in place of the traditional midnight breakfast we had. We had like a cooking event with the Cabreras and with a few more student leaders on campus. I myself am in this testing call, just making sure we understood the website that we're on, how we all talked to each other, how the event was going to operate. And it was really helpful for when the event actually happened. We all knew what we were doing and we could all make the event run as smoothly as possible.
We actually tested that one 3 times, with the gentleman that kind of runs that software. The guy with the headset in, if you can see him. He was happy to do it because he wanted to make sure he was comfortable with it. But we wanted to see, what are the different pictures we can do? How many students and faculty and staff members should we have involved? And it took us 3 times before, we were ready to go live for Midnight Breakfast. So yes, do it as many times as you can.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of testing for that event. I think it was several hours of testing overall within the number of times we did it. Also, just a few more things of what we learned kind of from our board, our chair specifically, who put on the events themselves and ran the committees that were in charge of the planning for these events. Just some actual quotations I took for them and what they told me based on their reflection of virtual programs. One person said, could be used in addition to in-person programming for those unable to attend events in person or uncomfortable going to in-person events in the coming semesters. Definitely, for sure, something we've already touched on. Not everyone may be comfortable going out and attending these in-person activities, or maybe they just want to limit the amount of time that they are outside with other people, just to reduce the risk of exposure. So it's really nice to have this alternate option, or maybe in addition to an event you are having in person, having the alternate virtual activity kind of going on at the same time, just so if anyone is uncomfortable, they can still have a great experience and still get a lot out of the event. What our next chair said is there were some things we couldn't control, such as the internet connection and any lagging, but it still gave people an opportunity to do something at home. This specifically being when a lot of our students did go home, or wherever they were during the April period when we had remote online learning. Yeah, internet connection was a common problem. People have differing internet connections on different places in the world. Typically, homes may not have like the same internet connection that Georgia Tech already provides. Hopefully, this isn't something we run into quite as often with the plan to have in-person classes, or at least a hybrid of that in the fall. So hopefully everyone is connected to GT Wi-Fi and there's limited problems there, but there's still kind of the issue with lagging, and that's a good thing to take into account. That everyone may not be really seeing or hearing the same thing as everyone else, so just making sure that they kind of aren't having any technical difficulties, and if they are, know how to help them uh, figure those out, and so they can still attend the event and enjoy the experience. What the last chair said is, I think it's a great thing to continue to program despite being unable to do it in person. However, you just have to be aware of the challenges and plan accordingly. So even if it's not a challenge that necessarily we went over and you encounter new challenges because you're doing doing an event that we didn't really talk about, or just we weren't able to bring up in this time, it's important to just learn from those challenges, and the next time you put on a virtual event, plan accordingly for them, plan ahead just to make sure you can overcome them the next time and you have a more successful event as a result. And there will be challenges, and that's totally okay. This is completely new. It's an unfamiliar ground for a lot of people. What's important is that we're just learning from them, and the next time we put on a similar event, we know what to do, and we know how to make the event better next time.
So getting some help from vendors. So as Josh mentioned, there are plenty of businesses out there that are diving headfirst into virtual programming, mostly out of necessity, but they also understand that like we all have this challenge and we need help creating some virtual programs. So wanted to kind of go over some of those options with you. There's so many out there. I'm sure that if you Google virtual program vendors, there's more than what we're aware of. But Josh and I are on a lot of email lists from some of these companies, thanks to conferences and stuff like that we go to. So many of the vendors have reached out to us. Some of them we worked with back in the spring. So there's a lot out there, all of that to say. If you can think it up, I bet some company can help you with it too. This is something though, it might be worth your time to work with Hall Council to get funding, if that is something that is of concern for you. Some of these vendors can do this really well. Sometimes we can do it really well too. So I do want you to kind of look critically at what the vendors out there can do and assess, like, could you do it instead? Would it be better if you did it, or would it be better if someone else did it? And so some of the things that we found, art-related activities are out there. We actually hired somebody in April who did guided conversation while doodling. So it was a really cool experience because she took her phone and put it over the paper where she was doodling on, so you could see that on the Blue Jeans call or the Zoom call. And then she had her computer so she could talk to you that way too. But the guided conversation was over like stress and anxiety, but she was also showing you how she doodles. And then everybody had like the same coloring page, that sort of thing. There's a lot out there that want to show you how to do a very specific art form. So there's, vendors that will show you how to do painting or sketching, that sort of thing. And they all kind of have the same setup, that it's a Blue Jeans call or a WebEx, Zoom call that a certain amount of people can get on, and they will talk to you about what supplies you need. Hopefully you can get them in advance, and then you can do that guided activity with the artist. Another very popular one is gaming tournaments. We also call it esports. But there's a lot of vendors out there that will host a tournament for you. The one that we used, we did one for, I think this is Rocket League that I'm seeing. Yeah, we did Rocket League, we did Smash Brothers. What were the other ones, Josh? We did a couple more.
There was
Kart?
Mario Kart and Fortnite were the other two.
Fortnite, right. Yes, we chose Fortnite because that is an easily accessible game, a free game to be able to do. But with the vendors that help you with gaming tournaments, I found that at least the one we went with really kind of did the commentary for the games as they're happening. We're in this world where like ESPN's showing reruns and there's no new sporting matches out there. So this was kind of the closest thing to watching a live sports event. And they were definitely doing the like, oh, he scored, different kind of commentary that gets you excited about a game you're not even playing. You're watching and they're getting excited about it. So it was really great because they knew exactly what they were doing. They were able to actually run the tournament and tell you it's this team versus that team. They matched everybody up and then they'd show you the game. But they kept it moving, they kept it lively and exciting. So to me, it was well worth the money. I think it's something like we could have tried it on our own, but having them do it made it a more fun and just exciting experience. There's also several vendors out there that can do a trivia or game show type of format. They can theme them. So if you want to do like Game of Thrones trivia, they can do it that way. We specifically with SCPC purchased Kahoot to do our trivias, but so many vendors out there that will do the trivia for you. They'll come up with the questions, all of that. We found that there's a lot of virtual escape rooms out there, like Josh mentioned. Many are free, not all though. So those vendors will have a fee probably per person to do the virtual escape rooms. But generally speaking, not always, generally speaking, if you pay for it, it's a nicer virtual escape room or just a better experience. It might be worth your time. It also might not be. So definitely do your research and check it out. And then there are vendors that will do bingo. They're doing different themes of bingo. Can they incorporate music? Like just different pieces to it. Sometimes they do it based on your school and things that are happening at your school, kind of like the Instagram bingo card that we did at the very beginning of quarantine. Everybody was doing the have you done all of this stuff. They might put one together for you, or they might just have be one. Yep, that's me. So there's a lot of different formats for bingo we've found over the time of quarantine. But those are just a small sample of things that vendors can do for virtual programming for you. I also want you to think about campus partners too. We didn't really list them, but I promise a lot of your campus partners, folks that you learned about at the RA Resource Fair, they'll put on virtual events that they want your help getting residents to. I think, even SCPC, we are a virtual programming partner on campus too. The CRC, I know we talked about like yoga. CRC is doing all kinds of virtual events as well. So they could be a really great resource for you. Lots of folks on campus are getting into the virtual world when it comes to programs and events. So there will be a lot at your fingertips virtually. And then if you have questions, I know you can't ask them right now because this is recorded, but feel free to email. Josh's email is up there, and then my email is up there. If there's questions that we can help answer, ideas you want to bounce off of us, ways that we can help support, even partner with you, let us know. We are open to ideas and suggestions.
Awesome. Well, thank you for listening, and that's all we have for the presentation.